Sweet. All right. I think we are live. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Dad with a bike here. So for those of you that are just joining in, appreciate it. And before we kind of get down to the nitty gritty of this discussion, which is all about this announcement that Indian made on the Indian Scout Rogue, wanted to touch on a couple of things. One is something that I am doing in March. Let me share my screen. Bam. All right. So I will be at this rally. So this is the Biker Rallies of Texas. It's done every year. If you've never been to the Thunder in the Hill Country motorcycle rally, it's a fantastic rally. So it's in Bandera, Texas. It's in and around the hill country. The roads out there are amazing for riding. You've got the Twisted Sisters, all the different little destinations that are out there. It's a fantastic time. Always got a good bands going. It's a good party. But anyway, it is 24th to the 27th. So I will actually be out there for that one. If anybody is going to be out there for it, hit me up on Instagram. Let me know, and I will try to find some time to go and grab a beer with you. So that's that. So let's jump over to comments real quick because I see some folks already jumping in. So Z-Bob here, bobbing with Matt. Hey guys, Square White's there. Bob and Brian here. Good. So yeah, it was an interesting announcement to say the least. I was hoping for something a little bit bigger, hoping for something a little bit better, and I think all of us were. And it's kind of been, it was a bummer to me the way that it was released, because it looked like with the way they announced it, it was something exciting, something brand new. It was going to be cool. It was going to be great. And I think that there was something that we wanted to watch, or what we hope was going to be there, which was this idea of the Indian Pursuit, which we all saw at one point in time floating around the interwebs, which we'll get to. I'm going to do a bunch of screen sharing during this because I've got a whole bunch of tabs over here on my browser that we'll walk through and talk to some stuff about this Rogue and then the Pursuit that's supposed to be coming that was teased. Well, not really teased, but leaked. So, hey everybody, there's oh look here, we got Bearded Bobber from Netherlands. Man, that's far away. How's it going, brother? I'm actually interested in what the weather is like in the Netherlands right now. I would imagine it is probably cold. We've got Square White in the house. How's it going? Mike Bird from Southern Illinois. I don't know if Southern Illinois, have you guys gotten hit with snow yet? We're about to get hit with snow in Texas. We're supposed to have a winter storm hit, not tomorrow, but Thursday. They're telling us school's going to be canceled, and I'm in Austin. So I think it's going to be funny when it snows here and I go outside and take pictures to show what it looks like when Texas shuts down because of snow. Valor Cycles here. Hey guys. Messy Garage. What's up, man? What's going on? Somebody from Northern Illinois hanging out. So now we got Southern Illinois, Northern Illinois. Puerto Rico. East North Carolina. Mike Bird is here. What's going on, guys? All right, cool. So let's kind of get into this, and I'm going to share my thoughts first. So I've been an owner I've had a Scout for a long time, probably I'm working on 3 years. Well, long in my eyes. I've rarely owned a bike for that long. And the Indian Scout for me was my very first real jump over into, the cruiser segment. Prior to that, I had a sport touring bike. I had a Yamaha FJ09. I had that for a couple years. Prior to that, I had a Yamaha R6. Prior to that, I had an R1. So yeah, I downscaled from an R1 to an R6. And so I've always had like sport bikes and whatnot. My dad had a Harley Davidson Heritage, which I took care of for a while he was traveling. So I got into riding it, and I kind of enjoyed that. That was a much slower paced. I really enjoyed it, but it just didn't have the oomph that I wanted, that I was used to. So when the Indian Scout came about, I had started eyeballing the Indian Scouts themselves, but I was never a fan of the Indian Scout the way that they were currently looking. And then in 2018, when the Bobber came out, I said, yep, man, I am going to get one of those. And then the following year, I snagged one. And the reason being is I come from a sport bike background. That to me was the best bike for me to jump into. It was fast. It was aggressive. Looked mean, had lots of power. So the Scout to me, I have a lot of fondness for. And I'm not an Indian fanboy, but I do have Indian stuff. As you can see, got the hat and stuff sticking around. But it's really the Scout that I'm a fan of. So anytime they start talking about wanting to mess with the Scout or wanting to introduce something new, and there were rumors that the Rogue was going to come out, I was apprehensive as to really what it was going to be. There's a lot of things that I think could have done with the platform, and then didn't. So that's kind of where I am at least from my opinion, with the Indian Scout Rogue. So let's jump back over to comments section, see what's going on there. Gregory Harris, what was the announcement? So today, Indian announced they did a 2/1/2022 announcement, and they introduced the Indian Scout Rogue, which we're going to get into. We'll walk through what that Rogue was, but yeah, that's what they announced. I think we all thought they were going to announce something else, but when they teased it, you could tell that it was going to be kind of a scoutish bike, but that's what they announced. So fun with Amia, she's excited about the bike, so that's good. I think what's going to end up happening is the bike, the Rogue, is going to be a great bike for new people coming into Indian. So, as a new buyer comes into Indian, they're going to see the Indian Scout Rogue, and they'll choose that probably over the Indian Scout and the Indian Scout Bobber, would be my guess. Because it's already got some things on it that people already have naturally done. A lot of us have already done a lot of upgrades to our bike that have already done many of the things that they did to the Rogue. I think Jason, you're dead on. It's the same thing in my opinion. It was it could have been so much more. It was just the Bobber with some new stuff, and we're going to get into a comparison here because there's a lot of like memes floating around afterwards, and I know like Valor Cycle posted one on Instagram that was the Octane next to the Bobber, and boy, it's true. When you look at like the Victory Octane, like, oh my god, they basically just brought it back to life, and that's really what it looks like. Yeah, I think so. Valor Cycle is right. I said this a bit ago. This is definitely going to be a new market thing. It's not going to be something that I think I know I won't switch to. There's no reason for me to switch to it, and I can't see anybody who's on a Bobber who would switch. And then, my opinion or my recommendation for anybody that's got like a Scout 60 or the Scout Bobber 60 who saw this and was like, oh my God, I'm going to get that one. Or don't. Like if I was a Indian Scout 60 owner, I would take that Scout 60. I'd upgrade to the 1300 big bore kit from, was it Revolution Performance? I forget the name of the company who's doing the big bore kit, but I put that in there, and that would be the baddest bike. That would be the baddest cruiser on the street for certain. So yeah, Messi, you're exactly right. There's some of the stuff I really wish they would have done. So the digital dial, I really wish they would have figured out how to do that or add that on. Hell, a cruise control, right? Because many of you who follow my channel, I've got the cruise control from NC Cruise on my motorcycle. It's an actual functioning cruise control. And the way the cruise control works is it interfaces with the the throttle positioning sensor. So it's an easy modification to make. So there's no reason why they couldn't just easily ship that thing with a cruise, especially since you can buy an aftermarket cruise and put it on there. That would have been a worthy, upgrade. I think another worthy thing would have been, if they were, kind of going, some additional things for the Rogue, if they would have made the gas tank a little bigger, maybe make the gas tank a 4.5 gallon or a 4 gallon. There's so many things they could have done that would have made people be like, huh, maybe when I do switch it up, I'll switch up from the Scout to the Scout Rogue, because I love the Scout. Like, I'm an experienced rider. The thing about the Scout and the Scout platform is that it doesn't matter if you're a brand new rider or you're an experienced rider. That bike is amazing for everyone. And it will take me a lot to move away from my Scout. And my Scout's getting old. It's getting up there in age, getting up there in miles. I'm over 30,000 miles on my Scout now, on my bobber. And, I'm already starting to look at, what am I going to go do next? Because by this time next year, I'll probably have 45,000 miles on it. So let's jump back over to the comments and see who else has popped in. Oh, look at there, Ricky Bobber. Hey, we got a famous people in here now. One of the new ambassadors. Welcome. Thanks for showing. Z Bob, I'm gonna get back to you on this one, because I have an opinion on what would have made me just forget everything and grab all of my monies and throw it at Indian, and it has to do with power. So let's see who else has to do. And I'm catching up in the comments. Yeah. So that's the thing for me. Like, here's my issue with getting a new bike is I can't do it. I can't get a second bike because I don't have room in my garage. Maybe when I get rid of my kids and they're off in college, then I can do it. But I've got room for one bike only. Right now, it's Indian Scott Bobber. So it's going to take me a lot to replace that bike. So Ricky Bobber Moto threw one in here. So let's see. Between the Scout and the Chief at some point, I don't know that you can actually, it's hard to compare the two. They're two very different animals. I think what's missing is something between the Scout and the Challenger. So to me, is the Chief is like, I'm that guy who wants that true air-cooled, V-twin thing. And my entry into that is the Chief. And then later I'll upgrade to like the Chieftain or something like that. And then so you've got the Bobber crew. And a lot of people who come to the Bobber do so because of the liquid-cooled engine, the way it revs, the power band, like its delivery of power is a reason why a lot of people like the Scout so much. It's why it's so popular and so infamous with it, being so fast and so powerful on the street. So to go from that to a Chief, it kills me. So I don't think that at least not me, but I'm a more performance-oriented rider, and I don't think that I would ever jump from a Bobber to a Chief. It's even hard for me to jump from the Bobber to like a Chieftain, even the 116. I've test ridden those a handful of times. Like maybe I'll jump to the Chieftain, and it's the power delivery that draws me back to the Scout and says, nope, not until something comes out that's like that. Hey, there's the Moto Scout. Hey, what's going on, man? Yeah, Jason, this is where I sit. I'm a liquid cooled guy. I like the way they rev. I like where the power delivery is on a liquid cooled bike. That's just my bag. That's where I like it. Yes, that'd be something. Just a giant 1800cc liquid cooled cruiser that's not a bagger. And we'll get to that too, because as I talk about as my opinions on stuff like the Pursuit, which we've all heard about and saw in the interwebs floating around, that's the Power Plus engine platform that's in that. That right there is a mighty engine platform. So Philip, let's post him, see what he's got to say. So far, when I've seen the Rogue is all new accessories and made for just put onto a Scout Bobber and call it a day. That was yeah. And some of the concerns that have been floating around with Indian on this one, well, not Indian, but the people who are fans of Indian is like, come on, please don't start doing a Harley Davidson where you throw a new color scheme and call that an annual release. So hopefully that's not the path they're going. So let's go ahead and jump over a little bit, and we're going to talk. I'm going to throw the my browser up so we can see the actual Rogue from Indian. So let me get that up here. Boom. And we'll hang out here for a bit, and we'll look at it this way. Yeah, that's probably a little better. So here it is, Scout Rogue. So for those of you ain't seen it yet, like there it is. That's essentially what it looks like. And we'll do a comparison here in just a second because it's interesting just how close this is to the Octane. And I'm an Octane fan. Like back before I was going to buy the Bobber, I was going to buy an Octane. But the only reason why I didn't was I know parts were going to be a challenge. And that was the only reason why I did not get an Octane instead of the Bobber. So here's essentially the bike. When you look at it, right, it's the Bobber, essentially. They gave it a quarter fairing. They gave it some mini apes. They gave it a new front wheel, and they basically blacked it out a little bit. That was really all they did for this to call it a release. And I think that's what has a lot of people just kind of like, upset about is that this really isn't a release. You just kind of rebadged something and sent it on its way. And maybe, I mentioned this earlier, and it's highly likely that it's targeted to the new market. And it's one of those things where, I don't know why they introduced it outside of the fact that maybe they saw that a lot of people who bought the Indian Scout or who bought the Indian Scout Bobber were already doing this to their bikes. I know there's plenty of us out there who have fairings on our Bobbers. Memphis Shades makes the Cafe fairing, which a lot of us have thrown on. I've got both the Cafe fairing and the Road Warrior fairing that I throw on. Most of us have gone the path of putting mini apes. There's a few that have gone the style of more of a dragster where they've put on, like the, drag bars from Dean Speed, but by and large, this is like, that was all the changes that they made. And I thought that it's kind of interesting. And maybe they changed it, but I highly doubt. I think that rear tire is still a 150. And if that rear tire is a 150 and that front tire is, a 120, 19 inch, then that thing's not going to handle super well. It's going to be weird and kind of squirrely. So I'll be interested to test ride one and see what it feels like to give my opinion on it. But if they went and changed out the front wheel, but they didn't change out the back. So boy, it would have been nicer if they would have put a 180 on there. And when we talk about that, putting on the 180, let's go ahead and jump over here and we'll talk about the thing that I've been talking about, which is this essentially is this. This is the Victory Octane. For those of you who don't know what the Victory Octane looked like, this is exactly what it was. And the Octane was a super high performance bike. A little bit bigger engine than the Scout. This was 1179 was the cubic inches on this one. And, it was very popular. It was fast. It was a great bike. And the great thing about this bike is it was, 19-inch front. And it had a 180 rear. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people who are doing, who want to do the 180 swap or do the 180 on the Indian Scout, they can do that and go buy the Octane rear wheels because they're just direct bolt on. And then Bob's your uncle, you've got a 180. So it's interesting how this Victory Octane you put these two bikes side by side and you can see where the resemblance is, and you say, okay, well, maybe it was a rebirth of the Victory Octane, and that's why, you know, a lot of people are throwing, you know, those pictures up of the two side by side, like on Instagram. So I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm going to jump back over to the comment section, see what everybody over here is talking about. Since it's only me running this thing, let's see. What? That's my dad. Hey, Dad. That's awesome. My dad is currently living in the Philippines, so he's joined us. Let's see. Let's kind of scroll through here. Let me go up a little bit, so catch back up with everybody. So the Moto Scout Chief launches a 20. They wouldn't really be able to push it, adding another brand new bike to the mix in the Rogue. It's probably true because they just did the Chief. Back-to-back releases would have been, you know, kind of hard. And I actually think it has a lot more to do with funds and monies, right? Because I suspect that what these manufacturers do is they can only do like new line releases, like honest to goodness new big releases, due to funding, probably every other year. So maybe we'll see another release near the end of the year that marks for 2023. Don't know. Ricky Bobber says the Indian motorcycle ain't broken, so let's still offer it, but let's make a new variant. Yeah, I mean, it's true. The bike's going to sell. It's going to sell to new owner, to new riders, clearly, because it's a good looking bike. You know, it comes with the fairing, it comes with things that you want, it comes with a more comfortable seat. So that's definitely going to outsell. Somebody, I would suspect, because I have the Syndicate seat now on my Indian Scout Bobber. If somebody goes and test rides a Bobber, and then they go test ride a Rogue, I think they would be insane to go back over to the Bobber, because the Bobber in its stock form is, you know, a torture device. You have to do so much to make it even remotely comfortable. And out of the gate, this is going to have that Indian Syndicate seat, which is a ridiculously comfortable seat. Yes. Again, it's true. Like if we were all shopping for our first Scout and we saw this, we'd probably look at all the other ones and say, I don't know what they were doing. Why didn't they just sell this? So we'd all end up buying this. Z-Bob, you are dead on. That horrible, horrible seat. Even the comfort seat for the Indian Scout Bobber is still not comfortable. Like I sat on one of those and, you know, you could definitely tell it's painful. But like I said, that Syndicate seat, I can't say enough about that. I'm going to have a video here in, I think, a couple of weeks where I will have finished about 1,500 miles on that seat. I've actually already done it. Like I've already put 1,500 miles on that seat. I just bought it. And I'm currently in the process of editing the video, but I can tell you, man, that Indian Syndicate seat is awesome. I can't say enough good things about that seat. Cafe fairing, yep, that's exactly what this is. And it's interesting. So when we look at some of the other stuff that the Scout that they've launched with the Rogue, so they launched the Rogue, they launched the Rogue accessories, and they launched the Rogue clothing line. So the accessories, right? So here's the quarter fairing for that bike. Starting off, it's $349. So if you just go out and buy this thing alone, that's expensive. If you're gonna buy a fairing for your Scout because you like the Rogue look and you're going to take it that direction, Memphis Shades is your best bet, because a Memphis Shades fairing is pretty inexpensive. I actually have it up here. This is the Cafe fairing. Out the door, you're going to pay a couple $100 for the Cafe. And the side profile, it's essentially the same. Now, the downside is that the Cafe only comes in black, so you can paint it, because I know like Valor Cycle and a bunch of other folks have painted theirs. You know, and I don't know how much, you know, to have one painted would cost. It couldn't be much, maybe $100, maybe $150. It can't be much. Or you go this route and get one that's color matched. So as I'm cruising back down, let's see. Let's see who else is here. Yeah, John just ordered his Syndicate solo seat today. like I said earlier, it was great what they're doing, because the stuff that's coming out, accessories, like I like the accessories that are coming out for the Rogue, like that Syndicate seat. Man, I can't say enough about it. That is an awesome seat, so you won't be disappointed at all. Let's see. Yeah, so this is interesting. What kind of sour taste will this put in the mouth of recent buyers who just like bought the bob, who just recently went out and bought the bobber, and then now Indian released this, which is essentially probably the bike they actually wanted. So I wonder how that's going to work out and how people are going to feel about that. And almost caught up in comments, so let's see. Let's see here. So someone waiting on a pre-order bobber seems they might need to concentrate on getting caught up with everything else before launching a new trim. Man, I agree with you, but it's been hard. Here's what's going to happen. This is going to happen with the Rogue. It's not ready. You're going to end up having to order it. Then you're going to be in another waiting situation to get it. Because all the stuff that they're doing for the bobbers for the Rogue also, they've got orders that are already in progress or that are fulfilled. So people are going to be getting in line if they order this Rogue. I don't think Indian is going to ship out a Rogue before they ship out an already pre-ordered and paid for bobber. I bet that you could potentially reach out to, Indian or dealership and like swap that if you wanted to, if you had one on order, but that's a conversation with the dealer. Let's see. I'm catching up, so give me a second here. Yeah. So Motoscout does a couple of these where he puts up here. He's actually dead on when he talks about the fairings, the Memphis Shades fairings. They're really easy to put on. The quick release is awesome. The initial time you put that fairing on, you got to struggle with it. And, we're still, of course, talking about this picture and that fairing. But once you get on the Memphis Shades, quick release fairing is easy to come on and off. And it does actually work. Actually, right now, I've taken off my my Road Warrior fairing and have put on my cafe back on because I wanted to see what it would look like. And it was funny. I was going to go and take a picture of it so I could put it up there and be like, look at mine versus the new Rogue. But I didn't want to rub salt on the wound. But I did also find out that when I motovlog, the voice capture is much better when I have the cafe fairing on than when I have the gauntlet on, because the wind is hitting me in the chest on the cafe versus the Road Warrior hits me more up here, so I get a little bit of wind noise inside my helmet. So yeah, for those of you that have seen my bike, that's the direction that I went. I kind of made it look more like a club style bike. To me, the bobber goes one of two ways. It goes either people strip it way down, and there's a guy on YouTube, not YouTube, but on Instagram. I think his Instagram handle is like Oso Bobby or Oyuso Bobby. Anyway, he's a guy that pals around with Ricky Not So Martin, and his bike is like fully stripped out, fully customized, drag bars, wide rear tire, no fender. So he's completely stripped all that down. And then, you've got the other side, which people have kind of gone the, almost club style. Like mine's a club style. I think if you go look at the Moto Scouts bike on Instagram, you'll see it's very club style. And I know like Valor Cycles is very club style too, where it's borderline. So people kind of do one way or the other when they're looking at how they configure their bobbers or their Indian Scouts. So some of the other cool things. So some of the colors that are coming along with it is pretty nice. Like there's quite a nice set of colors that are coming out with the Scout Rogue. There was a color that I saw this color here, like I don't see it in the paintings, in the color sketches. Like that's not in there. So I wonder where that's at. Because boy, that sure is a pretty color for the Indian Scout. So nice color. Again, Indian, if you ever choose to watch one of my videos, it is now 2022. Stop shipping bikes with not LED headlights, please. Dear God, for the love of all that's holy, stop doing non-LED headlights, please. Can look at some of the features real quick. So let's see. I think I got these broken down. Yes. All right. So let's jump into some of these features, and we'll talk a bit more about this. So the sport style seat. Yep. Good seat. Great seat. That syndicate seat is crazy. Awesome. Comfortable. It is just, it's amazing. So what do we have here? Aggressive, mini apes. So this is just some of the basic stuff that we've all done to our bikes. I think a lot of us have put mini apes or something like mini apes on there. None of that's really new. Still claiming 100 horsepower. It's not. Let's see what else they've got here that I skipped. We talked already quite a bit about the fairing. Essentially they call it the quarter fairing, but it is a cafe racer fairing. That's really what it is. Cafe racer. And then the 19-inch front wheel. So let's hang out here for just a second, because I think of the things that they added to this Rogue, I have to think that wheel is my favorite. Like I would love to have that wheel on mine, but I would want to have a 180 rear. I think a 150 rear and this, 19-inch up front. I don't know the sizing. I haven't looked at the specs. Maybe somebody knows the specs, or they are Googling and have it handy to tell me whether or not it's a 130 or if it's a 120 front. But if it's a 120 front and that 150 rear, that's going to be weird handling on this bike. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. So, yep. See you, Moto Scout. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. So, let's actually talk about what I was hoping was going to be coming, and we'll talk about this guy, the Indian Pursuit. So, last year we saw this teased out. Lots of people were talking about this bike, that it was going to be the performance bagger, that it showed some new styling of a bike with the Performance Plus, engine, or with the Power Plus engine in it, rather. So basically the engine from the Challenger into something. And I think this is what we were all hoping was going to come out, is the Pursuit or whatever this was, because I think that that's a itch that a lot of us have that are riding the Scouts, is we want something that's a little bit bigger, goes a little further, but we don't lose that power. And people thought, I think initially, that was going to be the Pursuit, but when you actually start reading the details of the Pursuit, I worry that when that does come out, that's not what that bike is going to be. This article breaks it down because they go through the patent that was filed for this bike for the Indian Pursuit, and they talk about the engine itself. Like I said, which is the Power Plus, which that is a fantastic engine. Could you imagine what it would be like if the Power Plus engine was in something like a Scout? Oh my goodness, man, that would be insane. I don't think the rear tire would ever stay hooked up. That would be insane. Yeah, well, so true. Who knows? Maybe. I hope so. We'll see. But when you read this article a little bit more, and you start digging into the details of what they're talking about with the Indian Pursuit and what the patent was filed for, they were talking about some of the weights, and like they were already talking about it this Indian Pursuit Dark Horse having a mass of 985 pounds. That's crazy because right now the Challenger is at 906. So I think that would be insane if this Pursuit gets released and it's bigger, heavier than the Challenger. That to me is going the opposite direction. It's not one that we want to do. My son just walked in here. Okay. Sorry, my son walks in. Dad, what are you doing? So, anyway, yep, see you later. Miss you. Have a good one, dude. So yeah, we'll see what happens, with this Pursuit. But it's one that has been teased, on purpose, maybe not on purpose. I don't know, but we'll see what happens with this one. I hope it's actually lighter than the Challenger, and I hope it's the power, or the performance, bagger or mid-size cruiser chief-sized bike that a lot of us are looking for. Yeah. My son is something else. He's almost gone. He's off to college soon. So we'll start to close this down. We'll actually talk a little bit though about the accessories. We'll talk a little bit about the products, and then call it a night. So if you look on the Indian Scout or the Indian's website, and you stab the accessories for the Rogue, it dumps you to all of this. A lot of these accessories we already have. I'm going to leave this right here for just a second. That is so true. If they would have just sold it with a, that center console ride command like the Chief, yeah, a lot of people would have been like, yep, I'm trading mine in for that one. But a lot of the accessories are the same. There's a few that are different. We saw with this release, there was some stuff that was prefaced before it, like the Indian, like the Syndicate seat, like the tachometer. Those were kind of pre-released before the Rogue. And I think it kind of foreshadowed what was coming. That's why I think when everybody was talking about the Rogue, I think everybody knew it was coming. But pretty basic, same stuff that you get, with all the other bikes that you're going to get from Indian with the Scout platform. All these things are hot swappable, if you will. So if you want any of these for your Scout, you can go grab them, no problem. The only thing here that's really new that we all haven't seen before is the fairing. Everything else is, we've seen and have been introduced already. Now the product line. So I like wearing some Indian gear, so I'm trying to figure out, what new is coming. So when I go and I look at the clothing that they offered for this, a lot of these things were kind of already out there. I know for certain this merino wool zip up was there. There's a few of these things that were kind of already out there. So, they took this as an opportunity to, release a spin on an already existing bike, throw out some more accessories because motorcycle companies make money on accessories. And then kind of throw out a clothing brand because they try to get Indian tries to get everybody to go into the store. And when you go to an Indian store, it's hard to walk out of an Indian store without buying something. There's always something there. Every time I walk into one, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get me one of those. And I'm going to get a shirt. I'm going to get a hat. And I always end up coming out of there with something. So, accessories and apparel, they make, I'm sure, a pretty penny on. So let me jump over to the comments real quick and catch back up with everybody. So, yeah, so the 8-ball, yep. That's true. That the Victory 8-ball was an amazing bike. That was another spin that they could have kind of done as well. Tim B, 7 years, the same bike. Yeah. I was hoping for something bigger, badder, better. But I think it was the Moto Scout earlier, said that, with them just releasing the Chief, them doing something this year was hard. We talked a little bit about, maybe they didn't have the funds available or whatever to do a big release, or maybe they've got something bigger planned and we don't know. I don't know. I trust that Indian kind of knows what they're doing. And what I hope they don't do is go down the same path that Harley went, which is just we're going to go release a new thing and just colors, or we're going to release a new thing and you get some other accessories on it. Like, I hope they don't go that route going forward. Constant innovation is what I want to see out of a motorcycle company like Indian. Yeah. No, that's true. Wouldn't make sense to have a touch screen on a bobber, which, I agree. But I was hoping, I think a lot of us were hoping, if they were going to do this Rogue, that it was going to have the, those the touch screen or something else on it that would bring that in. And again, I mentioned it earlier, I would have liked to have, a bigger gas tank. I got a video on the channel of it, just a funny one of the whole, constant struggle with the bobber running out of gas. See you later, fun with Mia. Thank you. Yeah. Someone said Harley Davidson is a t-shirt company that sells incomplete motorcycles. I would agree, except the past, I don't know, let's say the past 2 years, Harley is starting to kind of change their mantra, change their thought on this. They're spinning around and going a lot more towards performance. When you look at the most recent launch that Harley Davidson did, where they introduced the ST lines of like the Street Glide, the Road Glide, and then they took the Lowrider and made the Lowrider ST. That to me is like a smart move. They take a bike that had already kind of existed in its form, gave it a bigger engine, and made it such that if you wanted to do an aftermarket upgrade, you upgraded it to an even bigger engine. It comes stock already set up for performance. You come with a performance intake. It's performance tuned. Like, out of the gate, when you buy like the new Lowrider ST or the Road Glide ST or the Street Glide ST, like, they come tuned for performance. And that would have been something that if Indian would have done that to the Scout Rogue, if they would have taken the Scout Rogue and made it a 1300 cc, made a bigger gas tank, little things like that to make it bigger, badder, faster, stronger, whatever you want to call it. I think that would have had Indian Scout and bobber owners trading in their Scouts for that bigger, badder bobber. Guarantee it. And then, see, I'm reading through some of these comments here. Yeah, larger tank, yes, please, someday. Let's see. Let's see. What's this say? That's what I meant. They had an opportunity since they had a new name. Yeah, that's true. They rebadged it, and they had an opportunity right there to do something cooler. And they missed a mark. I think that's why everybody is so irritated about it, is that, my goodness, it could have been a massive, thing for them. Bigger engine, more tech. It would have been great. But sadly, not the case. I have this very same fear, Tyler, is that, they get stuck in this rut of, don't change a good thing. And that's the route Harley Davidson took with the Sportster. And, man, it got a bad name because of that. And but I pray that that's not the direction Indian will go with the Scout, because for me, the Scout is a beloved platform. That is my favorite. That is the favorite bike I have ever owned. The Indian Scout bobber that I got sitting in my garage right now is my favorite motorcycle of all motorcycles I've ever owned. It is my favorite. the personality, the comments that it gets, the everything. I love everything about that bike for the most part. Fixed lane, anal gas tank, and then it's fine. But that has been my favorite bike. And the problem is that I think that little heritage, that lineage, or whatever it is you want to call it, Indian gets a hold of that, and I'm afraid, just like you are, that they're going to get a hold of that, and it's going to be unchanged for a long time, and that would be tragic. Oh, this would be funny. My employer is an HD deal, and I'm a black sheep with Scout Bobber. That would be funny. You need to make a video on that one day and post it, because I guarantee you that thing would get a bajillion views. Let's see here. Bobbing with Matt. I have to think that during the pandemic and suppliers near being unable to fill demand, this might be the best that they can do this year. Probably, because they're having a hard time with fulfilling the orders for the bobber. So much so that they went the direction of changing the heat shields off the bobbers from black to chrome. And I know that freaked a lot of people out. I was like, what do you do that for? And they did that only because they didn't have the parts, or they couldn't get all the stuff brought in. They had shipping issues, whatever, and they were trying to get bikes out the door. I like that, actually. That's a something like the Scout Arrow, or the Apache, something along those lines. Boy, that would be you had that, and it was a bigger displacement. Imagine that you had the Scout, a little bit of a bigger frame, power plus engine, same Scout look, same Scout bobber, Scout look, a little bit more tech, a little bit bigger gas tank, and you called it that. Boy, I'm pretty certain that would sell. I'd buy it. Yeah. That's it being a 1300 cc from the factory would have been great. So for those of you who haven't looked or haven't done it, let me see if I can't. I'm going to pull it up real quick. So bear with me. I'm going to pull up I think it's the Revolution Performance. Yes, it is. Scout big bore kit. All right. So now I can share my screen again, and I'll show you this. So this is something that you can do today. It's an inexpensive for what you're getting. Let me classify, right? For what you're getting, this is an inexpensive upgrade that you could make. And if Indian would have thought about this and said, we just, make the engine bigger, more power, this thing's pretty amazing. The amount of power and performance that you get out of this 1300 is crazy. And it's, $1,300 upgrade. But if Indian would have done something like this, where they released the Indian Scout with a bigger platform than the 1133, give us more power, give us a wider rear tire, give us a little bit bigger gas tank, give us a little bit of tech. I'm telling you, that would, instead of the internet blowing up and being like, oh my God, it's just a rebadge, or oh my God, is that just a Octane clone? I think the internet would have been, blowing up all happy and excited, because it's a masterful performance spin on an already well-loved platform. Yeah. Find out what the next release is. Hey man, you're one of the guys in the cool crowd now, so you should know before we do. So if you ever want to leak anything, let me know. Yeah, so this is if I don't see something this year coming out of Indian, and I don't like, what I get out of the Lowrider ST when I test ride it, this may be the direction I go next, is with slapping in the big bore kit. we will see. Could be the next thing. So, anyway, we've been at this discussion now for almost an hour. I don't want to keep everybody on here listening to me ramble about the same thing over and over. So, throw something, if you guys got any questions or anything, what would that big bore kit? I know it shouldn't, Chrissy. So this is a question. It should not. They've put that thing through its paces, and it shouldn't. I think there's only a couple things that you're actually replacing in that engine when you're doing that 1300 big bore upgrade. So it's not much to do the work, and I don't think it's going to wear it out that much. I do know for a fact that you can't do that 1300 big bore kit upgrade without swapping out your clutch. You're going to have to get like a Barnett clutch in there because the factory clutch, it can't handle that power and it'll just fry. I mean, the factory clutch can barely handle the power it has right now. So Tim B, do I think the lighter 19 will improve handling much? The reason I say no is because the rear tire is a 150. That's a very different, geometry that you're dealing with when your rear tire is a 150. That's why usually what happens in these bikes like this, the big 130s are in the front, and you've got smaller tires in the back. That geometry is on purpose. So if you threw a 19-inch and a 19 and 120 on the front, and you kept the 150 rear, I think that would monkey with the handling quite a bit. And the reason why the Scout handle, or not the Scout, but the Octane handles so well is because it's a 180 rear with basically that wheel up front. Yes. And Tyler mentions that down here. Yes, it is more nimble, but you've got to have the geometry set up correctly with the correct front and rear wheels and tires. Yeah, you didn't know there was a 1300 kit? Oh yeah, and it's easy. It probably would take about half a day to install. Super easy to do. I've read through the instructions a handful of times, and I'm just waiting to see what happens before I pull the trigger on it. Bob's big bore. Oh man, I'm anticipating it. There's a guy on. Oh man, Too Tall. I can't remember the motovlogger's name, but he did an interview with a guy who did the 1300 on his bike, and it's on. It's out there on YouTube. I guarantee if you find it, like listening to that bike and watching it rip down the highway is just insane. Saw a dyno with the 79 kit 110. Yeah, I believe it. I wonder if that was that also with an intake and an exhaust, Tyler? That'd be good to know. Or was it like straight up big bore? Because I think when I saw the straight up big bore swaps, at least the dyno charts that they provided, they were talking that. And then if you did intake and then if you did exhaust, you would get a bit more. No, it's not Too Tall Bobber. It's Riding Tall, I think. Traveling Tall. There you go. This guy, Traveling Tall. Yep. He did a video where he interviewed a guy who worked at an Indian dealership who did that to his bobber. Okay, so it did have an intake and a 2-in-1 pipe tune. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. Because I think most people at best on tunes they do unless you go and actually get it, unless you take it to a race qualified tuning specialist. Like Austin, we're lucky because up here in Austin we have AF1 tune or AF1 racing. And you take it to a shop that knows what they're doing, you can squeeze more. Most people get about 100, right up to 100 when they do the typical intake 2-to-1 pipe PV3. You can get to 100, and if you take it to a race shop, you can get that up above 100. But you suffer in other things if you do that. Yes, absolutely. If you put something like that on that bike, you're going to have to get that whole. It will require. It'll probably require some time on a dyno for certain. So no, I looked and looked and looked. There is zero change in the suspension, which, let's look at this bike again. I'm going to complain a little bit more. Sorry, you guys are probably sick of hearing me complain about this Rogue release. Same suspension. All right. I mean, that is a murderous suspension. Still single disc on the front. And no cruise control. I mean, come on. I mentioned it earlier for those of you who weren't around. I have the MC cruise control on my bobber. It's a $650 modification. Very easy to do. Took me an hour to do. And all it does is makes a few pin changes to the throttle positioning connector that comes off your throttle. And then that goes down and plugs into your ECU diag port. And that's it. So there is absolutely no reason Indian couldn't put a cruise control on these bikes. No reason outside of they don't think it belongs there or whatever. But I love my cruise control. There's no way I would go backwards. All right. So let's start to shut this down. Does anybody have any other questions they want to throw out there before I close this out? Going once. Going twice. Man, I think this is I've applied every year they've opened it and haven't made it. And probably why. I'm not a fanboy. I'm a motorcyclist. And there's no, and I'm not sorry, no shots at any ambassador. I mean, it's an awesome program if you can get into it. The opportunities that are at your fingertips for that stuff, it's so awesome if you can get yourself into it. But I applied, but nope, didn't get picked, which is fine. It's all cool. I'll still do. All my content is still going to be focused on this, Indian Scout bobber until it is no longer in my garage. So, Valor Cycles asked this, when's the Q&A episode coming out? So I posted on, I put a post on my YouTube, and then I also did something in Instagram that said, hey, ask me some questions. Anything you'd like to know to get to know more about me. So I am going to be putting that stuff together very soon. I've got a lot of questions. I think I have somewhere in the neighborhood of like 100 different questions that have been thrown at me, and they're all very different. So I'm working on how I'm going to deliver that. And I might do a like a Q&A live stream. I don't know. I might try to sprinkle those in the videos and the content as I do it, because my content comes out. I do one short a week and I do one regular video a week. And I usually am about 4 or 5 weeks ahead. So like I've already got content planned, I've got content staged for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Hey, Michael Bike, what's up, man? And And so, I might try to sprinkle that in there a little bit somehow and get those questions answered. So that we kind of have a little bit of an opportunity to get to know me a little bit more, my history, kind of what got me into this. Oh, dude, if I don't, I'm screwed because my work, I have so much work. And my primary mode of transportation is motorcycle. Like I personally don't have a car. My kids have cars. Wife has a car. I don't. Everything I do is motorcycle. So every opportunity I get when I'm out, like I'm recording, I'm talking, I'm doing something, I'm thinking about stuff, trying to think and plan on the next upgrade, next mod. So if I don't, because of work, I would fall so far behind and wouldn't get content out. You don't have. Oh, really? You don't have a car either? Yeah, I mean so that's what I do. Is I think of something and spin it that way. But I do, I luck out because I'll do modifications and I'll do all that stuff to my bike. I don't take my bike to a dealer. I've never taken my bike to a dealer for service ever since I've owned a bike, ever. I do all of it myself. So, I have time and I guess the knowledge or the willingness to do my own upgrades, my own maintenance, my own stuff. And when I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, I'll record it and then try to make a video out of it. So yeah, the Indian Syndicate seat versus the Mustang seat. So for a while I had the Mustang Jared Mees seat, which was vandalized. That's why I got the Indian Syndicate seat. At first, when I did a first impression, I was like, they're pretty similar, and they were, like, comfort wise, they were kind of pretty similar. But I've already got 1,500 miles on that Indian Syndicate seat, and I can already tell you that Indian Syndicate seat is night and day better, on longer rides than that Jared Mead Mustang seat was. Surprisingly, like that Jared Mead's Mustang seat, I would get some numbness in my giblets. I don't get that in the on the Syndicate. So let's see, who else is in here? Have ever sat on a Corbin? Yeah, not for the Indians, or not for the Indian Scout. So I had a Corbin on my, what was it on? It was on my FJ09. So it was on my sport touring bike, and that thing made all the difference. I mean, if you're going to go like pure comfort, and you didn't care about, money and stuff like that, dump it on a Corbin and get that sucker custom done by Corbin, you will never, ever sit on another seat that's more comfortable than a Corbin ever. It just not going to happen. Even if you try to get a seat custom made, I bet it's still not going to be as comfortable as a Corbin. Did I ever use the comfort seat? I didn't. I sat on it and it felt weird on my butt. So I kind of do, with the way I choose seats, I kind of do a little bit of a first impression. I find either somebody that's got one and I sit on it, or one that's similar. And I went to an Indian dealer and they had one with a comfort seat on it, and I sat on it, and like where it hit where my legs touch my, connect to my butt, that felt weird. And so I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. So I just never did the comfort seat. A lot of people like it, but I've never done the comfort seat. And yeah, so if you're able to get it customized, if you can do the Corbin and you can get the Corbin customized, best seat you'll ever own. Better. I mean, it's amazing. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're over an hour, so I'm going to let everybody go. And oh, wait. Whoop. Do they? Now I'm curious. View all the specs. It says they come with a cruise text. Wheels, tires. Boy, they sure do. How about that? Oh, and That 19-inch is a 130. So for somebody asked earlier, will that 19-inch cause problems or be funky? No. Now that I see this, it won't. That 19-inch with a 130 and then it having the 150 rear, that'll be fine. And they come with the Metzlers. Boy, Cruise Techs are my favorite tires. I don't care what you say. Prove me wrong. It's not possible. It's my opinion, but boy, those Cruise Techs are amazing, amazing tires. I've got Shinkos on right now because when I had to swap out tires, like you couldn't find them. I couldn't find anything. So I was like, I guess I'll give Shinkos a try. So I have Shinko 777s on my bike right now, which are decent. I mean, they're pretty good. I haven't had any issues with them. But I love Cruise Techs. They're just amazing. But yeah, so looks like it. Everything else is the same. I'm looking at the very specific specs now to make sure that there's nothing crazy that I missed. Still single caliper. Gear ratio is still the same. Everything's the same except for, they come with the Metzlers, that 19-inch tire. Yeah. Cool. Glad I looked. Now I don't know. Alrighty, guys. So that's it. Thank you very much for stopping by. Do me a favor, if you haven't already hit the like, stab the like. If you haven't already gone over to my channel, subscribe, or you're not already a subscriber, all that good stuff, do that. Tell your friends. Tell everybody to come over and check out Dad with a Bike. I try to not disappoint. And with that, I'm going to leave you all. You guys have a great evening. And thank you for sticking around and walking through the Indian Scout Rogue. Maybe we'll get something special from Indian for Christmas. Maybe. Good night, guys.